Dude, what is actually going on? What are all these headlines? So, of course, I saw trending after the Gladiator 2 movie that people don't really look too kindly on because they say it's too much like the first movie. I'm curious because it's Denzel Washington. Everybody loves Denzel Washington, including myself. So I was very confused and intrigued with what the hell was going on before this whole conversation surrounding Gladiator 2 wasn't anything about a bunch of dudes sharpening their pencils and each other's sharpeners. It was just about, okay, this wasn't necessary and it was lackluster and whatever, but now we seem to have completely shifted the conversation all the way over into, oh my god, Denzel Washington had his muzzle all up in another man's maw. So I figure we could hear it from the man himself. Denzel Washington does a good job of putting people in their place and setting the record straight, so let's hear it from him.
You are a part of it. Why did you want to do it?
Because he asked me. I mean, you know, it's Ridley Scott, it's Gladiator. Because he asked me, simple as that. And a good script, very good script.
Yeah. Big headline about a certain scene, a kiss that was omitted from the movie. Why do you think they did that?
It wasn't even a big deal, really. I mean, that's about what it was. You know, and I kissed him on the hands.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. Nice to see you.
So if we're to take what Denzel Washington says at face value, which I see no reason not to do because based on what I've seen, I know they're actors and whatnot, and so far every interview I've seen of Denzel Washington, he's pretty down to earth and real. He will tell people to mind their business. He will choose not to answer things. He doesn't want to divide people. So if he says that's all it was, then that's fine. Now here into the bigger conversation that I can't even believe we need to be having. Based on what Denzel Washington said that kiss was, is it gay? Does it matter? If it's a peck on the lips, there are a lot of cultures outside of America that do that, where men greet each other like that, or women greet each other like that, and it's completely normal. As a matter of fact, in my culture, when we grew up, that was completely normal, especially with close family and friends. You wouldn't do that to strangers, but you would do it to close family and friends, and it is not sexual. That just goes to show you a lot of people see absolutely everything through that lens. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't do that sometimes. You're on the internet long enough, and you watch enough anime, and you realize, yeah, I guess it could be taken that way if we really try to see it that way, but deep down inside you know it's not. And I think it's important for people to remember that historical context, geographical context, traditional and cultural context is important. Say it with me, people. Not everywhere is America. What you might find weird, other cultures might find completely fine. To some other cultures, us eating cows and beef is absolutely disgusting and savage. To people even within this country, eating pigs is gross. In America, there's a common consensus that eating bugs is very disgusting, but people make a delicacy out of it often. It's very delectable to some... Ugh. Oh my god, nasty. Ew, it's the way they... Ugh. But yeah, everyone's culture is not going to be the same. So if we're talking about historical Roman culture, it was quite normal for people to kiss on the lips. And at the time the Gladiator 2 movie is set, which seems likely around the 2nd century, and we're guessing this because it involves characters that were alive during that time, it was completely normal and platonic for men to kiss each other on the lips in certain contexts. This was part of Roman social customs, and it's not necessarily tied to sexuality as we think of it today. In the Latin language blog, it says here that ancient Romans probably had very little regard for personal space, since one way that social equals, usually those we would consider aristocrats, would greet each other on a daily basis would be with a kiss. Family members would kiss when meeting, brothers, friends, and even boxers and wrestlers would touch lips. It was a show of gratitude, reinforced friendship, and was an appropriate display of salutatio between clients and patrons. It was also a sign of closeness between masters or teachers and their pupils, though there were times in history when this was discouraged because of the ambiguous nature of kisses and appropriate intimacy between masters and pupils. The kiss of greeting was probably the most common form of kissing, if only because an ancient Roman might meet many family members, friends, equals, and partners in business in a day. When there was a contagious disease making its way across the city, kissing was something considered so prevalent that measures would be taken to forbid kissing between aristocrats until the sickness passed. And you know, I hear people asking questions about this. Like I said, it's the same thing in my culture. It is completely normal. It is so normal and commonplace in my culture among family members that whenever I see someone in a movie giving someone a peck on the lips, I see it as, oh, brother and sister, daughter, father, son and father, mother and daughter. I don't see it as sexual in the least. Now, of course, if you're just holding the kiss there, like, you know, clearly body language, we can all read it, platonic. It's obviously considered romantic.
You where it won't show.
Now, in the context of the movie, if Denzel Washington's character kisses another male character, it likely reflects this Roman custom. And I know when we start having the conversation about historical accuracy, some people are claiming that, well, because Denzel Washington's casting, being that he is playing a character who is realistically white or pale-skinned, is an issue, because yes, even though ancient Rome was a highly diverse empire, high-ranking Romans, or someone in a political or gladiatorial elite, the idea of them being an African descent isn't really supported by historical evidence. Yeah, we can make arguments for that. We can make arguments for the accuracy and ruining the immersion of having Denzel Washington with this New York City accent. We can have all those intriguing conversations. But aside from all of that, the kiss itself, based on what Denzel Washington said, doesn't seem to be an indication of the character's sexuality. At the very least, it doesn't seem to be an indication of Denzel's sexuality. People are trying to say it was improvised, it was not part of the script, so I find it wild that they're making it a gay kiss. Like, discussing film is saying Denzel Washington reveals a gay kiss was cut from Gladiator 2. I kissed a man in the film, but they took it out, they cut it. I think they got chicken. I kissed a guy full on the lips, and I guess they weren't ready for that yet. Could have been the way that he said it, but given the context, I may be wrong, but given the context, based on the information we have right now, that wasn't the case. So people are getting upset saying, I thought he was clean. That's why you gotta be careful the kind of people you idolize. Why did you idolize him in the first place? And people are wanting to cancel the whole movie. Now, you know what? Maybe part of it is Denzel's wording, but he clarified when he said, again,
Even a big deal, really. I mean, that's about what it was. And I kissed him on the hands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washington.
Dude is straight up saying it's not a big deal. He clarified that, and people are still like, nah, you kiss him on the lips. It doesn't matter if it was a peck. That's nasty. Given the historical context, hello. But let's see, there's another post here. Let's try to get some more context of this. I don't believe it's a conversation, but I understand why people might, I guess, feel a way of it, because they're probably thinking, why'd they have to make Denzel do that? Why'd they bring him in the movie just to make him do that? Especially if he's the only one doing it.
And your character makes a few remarks throughout the film about having a relationship with other men in the film. So I wanted to ask, how gay is the Roman Empire?
The entire empire, or I actually kissed a man in the film, but they took it. They cut it. I think they got chicken.
I was going to ask because I just heard about the Paul and Pedro forehead kiss that apparently got cut from the movie.
I'm not sure about that one, but I kissed the guy full on the lips, and I guess they weren't ready for that yet.
Oh man! Well,
I killed him about 5 minutes later, but
I mean, it's Gladiator.
It's Gladiator. The kiss of death. It didn't how it turns out, but
no, I think it's gay as hell.
But in all seriousness, I find it very strange when interviewers always ask this freaking question. Like, oh my god, how gay is Star Wars? How gay is this? How gay is that? Like, why do people feel the need to constantly ask that stupid fucking question? What is this? It's the Gladiator. Jesus Christ, it's not Danny Street. And he must have been so confused by the question. I mean, yes, it is the Roman Empire, and I imagine that the elites in the Roman Empire, people were doing all manner of things with their sexual freedom. I get it. But is that really the question that you want to be asking? And this person looks like they're getting off in their mind of Denzel Washington, like, kissing another dude, even though he clarified that it was a kiss of death. Like, calm down. The way that people are piling down on him, like, I understand, like, the teasing aspect of it, sure, why not? But the way people are like, man, I thought he was clean, I thought he was blah, 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 it's a little bit much. I mean, there's a difference between selling yourself out and doing something you clearly don't want to do, that you're uncomfortable with for a check, and your principles and whatnot. At the end of the day, it is acting, but also I do understand, and I've also agreed with the demasculization of black men in Hollywood. That is a thing that has been happening for many, many years, especially when they have a very high tier black male lead. Same thing with dark-skinned female characters in modern shows and movies. They've always always gotta either be insufferable or gay or bi. And I don't want people twisting my words and saying, well, you have a problem with gay people and bi people. No, of course I don't. I mean, if you've watched my channel enough, you know that is obviously not the case. However, it's to the point, the way that they do it and the way that they write these characters, that it's almost like they have a problem with showing a feminine, straight, dark-skinned woman, especially if she's in a relationship with another dark-skinned man. And the only times I've ever seen this, I'm not lying to you, the majority of the times I've seen this, I don't want to say only, but the majority of the times I've seen this, where there's a dark-skinned woman with a dark-skinned man, they're a couple, she's feminine, he's masculine, they're doing whatever, they're a family and whatnot, are in those movies where they're being persecuted for their race or slave movies. I swear to God. So I do get where some of that ire is coming from, but in the realm of this movie, we gotta also use nuance. Unless some more evidence comes out to the contrary, I still think it's not that big of a deal because he's acting a part. As long as he's not tongue kissing someone, I mean, he's still acting, but it's not like he was trying to stick his tongue down somebody else's throat. He's still classy. I don't see him doing anything wrong. At the end of the day, as I've said, the kiss of death, whether it be kiss of greeting, the peck on the lips, was very commonplace in ancient Roman culture, as it was and still is with a lot of cultures. Peck on the lips doesn't automatically mean, oh my God, your butthole is going to prolapse and you're gonna freaking shit your guts out. Like that's not what that means.
I pray for your generation, because we did not have to deal with what you've had to deal with. And it's our fault for putting it in your hands. There were no 9 million opinions of every moment of my day.
No
and
documentation.
People that like you and then suddenly they hate you and you don't understand
gross.
why. And I never had, I don't even know what you call it, an Instagram account. Never had one. Link, what's the other name?
LinkedIn.
Twitter. I don't have any of those things.
You don't have a LinkedIn?
No. I have a Cadillac.
So yeah, ew, get the fuck off. Jesus Christ. I hate when people you have the comment section. Like, there's a time and place for that, bro. Anyway, people are agreeing with him, and one person says, Denzel's spot on. Social media often distorts reality, shaping perceptions with filtered moments and highlight reels. It blurs the line between authentic experiences and curated versions, leaving many caught in a constant cycle of comparison. Sounds like that was written by ChatGPT, but still right. I may be wrong, because I use ChatGPT to correct my grammar and shit, because you know how that is. So much easier. Another person says, Hollywood got him. In the end, social media is still needed. That's a very interesting conversation, a discourse that we should have, because is it though? Maybe to get by now in the world we live in. Needed in what context? To survive? Because there are people out there surviving without social media, so why is it needed? Needed for what? He's not wrong though, he's got a point. Which leads to a bigger conversation to be had, though. Because everyone's coming down on him, wondering if he sold his soul and blah, 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 because he kissed some dude. The conversation we really should have, though, and I've always asked this when I was younger, if you're an actor, right, you're playing a role in The Gladiator or whatever, it's at a time where people had many relations with all types of people. Why? Because they could. Let's just say that you are straight as an arrow in real life, right? But you have a role to play as a guy that has a relationship with another guy, and your tongue is down his throat, every orifice in his body, his ears, his cloaca, you name it. Does that make you gay in real life if you're playing the part? If you're gonna argue that playing a serial killer doesn't make you a serial killer in real life, playing a monster while you're in a costume in a horror movie doesn't make you a horror movie monster in real life, playing a bloodthirsty lawyer or whatever doesn't make you that actual thing in real life. I mean, you're reading off a script of things that you probably don't even understand. You're just there to memorize it and pretend that you know what you're talking about. But if someone was to ask you something about law, you would have no idea what they're talking about. Doesn't make you a lawyer or attorney in real life, does it? So by all of that logic, if everyone agrees that people only just play roles and pretend to be things that they really are not in real life, can you then not argue the same for acting as a gay character in a gay relationship with someone? This is not necessarily the discourse surrounding whether or not masculinity is an issue with portraying certain people in certain roles, but whether or not someone is actually gay because they play a freaking role. No one cares when the females do this, by the way, but when the dudes do it, when they play a role, they're like, nah, ew. And I understand it can be very disconcerting because people are not used to that. And for those of you girls and everyone else who thought that Jon Snow was straight, then you see him tongue kissing another guy and going in. I mean, he's going in, like all the way in, and if the camera wasn't panned on their face and it was zoomed out, you would think that someone's finger was up someone else's ass already. How far deep they're going in. Does that make him gay in real life? Does it matter? Does it change your perception of him as a person? And if it does, and you now believe he really is gay, doesn't that mean he did a good role? He did a good job at the role that he was playing? I don't know why we're getting into the conversation. But yeah, it is a discourse to have. Is the answer in the comments, do you think that makes someone gay? And then if a gay guy is playing a straight dude, which often happens, does it make him straight in real life? No. Then why is it the truth for the other way around? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm gonna start something here. But as for the Denzel Washington thing, I think people are blowing it way out of proportion. It's not that serious.